friends and welcome. Today I gathered my favorite Christmas tree DIYs over the years and put them all in one video. I hope you enjoy it. The next project is a little bit easier. I am just going to hot glue this material around the Christmas tree and use some nautical rope to accent the tree. The material I had left over from a different project. The little tree form came from Dollar Tree, and nautical rope is still the same rope that I had left over from different projects. So I just cut slits and then wrapped the material around the edges. So we're both ready that Christmas now. I need more. I remember making all the gifts, cutting out birds of paper and pretending they would live. Once I was finished wrapping the nautical rope around the tree, I cut little pieces off and in the same size, and then I just had glued those pieces to the bottom, and then I also outlined the star with the nautical rope. Now for the star, I take the nautical rope and I separate all the threads so that it's a lot thinner, and I wrap that around the star. And here it is, all finished. I think it looks so cute. I went with something completely different with my project here. I went with a more of a boho style versus the farmhouse look that I've been doing all along. But when I saw this project on the Etsy shop, well, actually an item for sale on Etsy shop, I absolutely fell in love and had to recreate it. So I'm starting off with an artist panel, the wooden one, and I am doing absolutely nothing to it. You could stain it, you could paint it. I just love the natural look of it, so I'm sticking with that. And then I take the yarn and I wrap it around my arm until all of my full length of my fingers is covered. That's kind of my measurement. And then so I'm kind of creating a bit of I guess you would call it a tassel, and you will need 15 of these. So I tied the top, creating a bit of a head on top, and then I cut the hooped part just so they're all hanging individually down, not hooped up. I hope that makes sense. So like I said, I repeat this project 15 times, this part 15 times. And once I am done, I pretty much almost used the whole yarn. You can see the piece that's left. I take a piece of just a little branch that I had, and then I kind of place where I want things to go. So at the bottom I am putting 5, then I follow with 4, 3, and 1. This was very simple to make, however it took some time to create those tassels because you had to do it 15 times. If you went with a smaller artist panel, you can definitely cut the amount of tassels you need, hence the amount of time that it takes to make it. I would also like to thank each and every one of you for making this year so amazing. I appreciate you all so much. Just because they are trees, evergreen trees or Christmas trees, you can make them into. But I picked these felt trees over at Dollarama. It was a package of 5, and I just added, it was very thick felt, but I wanted to add a little bit of snow to them, so I just took that brush from the previous project that had a little bit of white paint on it and just brushed the edges, and that gave it a little bit of a snowy effect. And as you saw previously, I just painted 3 Jenga blocks with the white. Again, very dry brushing it on with whatever was left on this brush. I never actually dipped the brush back into the paint. So once that was done, I proceeded to assembling the trees. I did a very similar DIY last year where I cut the trees out with my Cricut machine, and then I had stuffed them with just some pillow stuffing and then glued them together, and they turned out really cute, and I used them on my tier trays. Now these are going to be a little bit bigger, and I think I'm going to use them in my bedroom decor because I'm going with that rustic cottage look in my bedroom, and I think these will look really good. So I had some of these round sticks. One was long and then 2 were shorter, and I just hot glued them at different points to give them different heights. And once I hot glued these sticks on, I ended up hot gluing the trees onto the Jenga blocks. Now I did add a little bit of wood glue. I did not show this over the letters where it says Jenga, because these are actual Jenga blocks and they have engraved word into each side of them. And by adding a little bit of wood glue over top of it and smoothing it out, it covered up some of those letters. It didn't do 100% job, but it did a pretty good job. Now, when I'm hot gluing these, you want to be patient and hold them in place until they set, because otherwise they're just going to keep falling over. So this does take a minute for each just so they set. So I repeat the same process for all 3 of them. I just love the way these turned out. I think they look so rustic and whimsical almost. Okay, so all the tinsel needs to come off all the trees, so I will be doing this for every single one of them. But this very first one I was cutting down in half because I wanted the tree to be a bit shorter. However, I will be saving this other part that I'm cutting off for the last DIY project. And then you want to use assortment of ribbons. I used this cork faux cork ribbon. Instead of burlap, I was going to cut my white burlap ribbon into strips, but then decided to use the cork one instead. And then you cut them to about 1 inch to 2 inches depending on the size of your tree, and then you fold them in half and hot glue them at the cut parts so you have a solid fold, and then you hot glue those onto the tree. I did overlap them a little bit on the sides. I just thought that would look nicer. And then and there is no rhyme and reason for the pattern that I went with, like the order of the ribbons. I just went with what I thought would look good. You could use solid ribbon for that, like solid color ribbon, or any kind of ribbon you really have on hand that's kind of Christmassy if you're going with a Christmas theme. I think you could even make this as a Halloween tree if you had or a fall tree if you had the fall ribbon. This can be done for really any season. And then once I was finished following the pattern on the bottom and hot gluing the whole tree, I went ahead and did this for the top for the whole tree. But the next row, when you start, you want it to hang to overlap the bottom row a little bit so you don't see where the bottom row ends, kind of thing. I hope that makes sense, but I think you can see what I'm doing here on the video.
Making our Christmas memories. I've been working so much lately, I can barely find the time to sleep. Yeah, I spend my time running around, keeping people pleased. But this is my favorite holiday. It's a chance to start over new. 'Cause I missed you, so I'm letting go of everything but you.
So you can really see the overlap. It kind of fans out a little bit, and that is what the look that I was going for. And at the top here, this was a little bit hard, and this whole project was a little bit tough on my fingers. I don't know what I did with the little rubber ends for my fingers so I don't get burned. Um, but I did get burned a couple times here. But when you get to the top, you want to pinch it together at the top. Now, this doesn't look the nicest when you reach the top, so I took a little piece of a rope that I had just left over from one of the other projects and wrapped it around the top. I really like the way this looked. You could also add like a star at the top or anything really at the top that would kind of cover up that little pinch at the top.
These are the good times with you. Baby, this year it's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to hold you close. Forget about it.
I just think this tree turned out so cute, and I can't wait to use it in my decor. For the tree number 2, I'm going to take the tinsel off, and for this one, I will be using the whole tree. And I have this full, like a wide ribbon. It's in burlap. I got this from burlapfabric.com, and I just hot glued it right around, and then I pinched it right at the little lines going up, and this gave it a bit of like a form, which I really liked. And then again, when I went with a second row of burlap, I overlapped the top just so you don't see where the one ends. I was using the little clips to hold the things while the glue was curing. This one was definitely not as involved as the first one, but it still, I think, looked really good once it was all done. Now I wanted to embellish it a little bit, so I went with these little bell garland, mini garland that I got at, I think that came from Dollar Tree, and then I had these stars from last year from Dollarama, and I just left them as they are because I wanted this tree to be rustic, but I glued 2 of them and pinched them together at the top to kind of cover up again that end. And I think this looked really good. And then because this was burlap, I just kind of wedged the start of the garland into it and folded it underneath and then just wrapped it around. I think this tree turned out so cute, and I love how rustic it looks. The second one, because I just wanted to have that 3 different sizes. I'm also going to be using some of these pine cones that my friend picked up from her garden and a couple of the Solawood flowers that I have on hand. I will link the Solawood flowers down in the description box if you want to get some for yourself. They are so versatile. I've used them for so many different DIYs, and they're also paintable. I did not paint them this time because I like the natural look. So I started off by placing 1 pine cone to the top and hot gluing it This kind of gave me a starting point, and then I took the solar wood flowers and just hot glue them kind of randomly around the tree, and this actually helped kind of start the pine cones on here. You could also wrap this with something like maybe some ribbon or even some tape, so you have a more solid surface to hot glue the pine cones on, but this did work for me quite well. I did get this inspiration off of Pinterest, and the pine cones that they used were flocked with snow, which I thought was really cute. But I really liked the natural look of this when it was done, so I did not spray mine with the snow, but you totally could if you wanted to. And when I was hot gluing the pine cones, I kind of wanted them positioned up. This made them go in a little bit easier and stay on a little bit easier, and I loved the look. And I was using all different sizes of these pine cones just to fill in all the little crevices and spots. It's like building a puzzle. You just place where they fit.
And I've lit my house with Christmas lights, so you should come back home to me. And when we wake up in the morning, I'm gonna play those carols that you love. We'll be singing all the melodies until the sun comes up. These are the good times with you.
I just love using items that are free and alongside with obviously bought DIYs. I just think, and especially natural out of the garden supplies, I think that they truly give you that rustic look if that's what you're going for.
It's just gonna be you and me. Hang by the fire and chill. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, and I've been longing to.
Now, once I was kind of they were getting all filled up. There were a couple areas that were just, you could still see the form behind, and I didn't have enough of these mini pine cones from the garden. There were a couple, but not enough. But I did have some on hand from Dollar Tree, so I just used those just to fill in all the little spots where the tree form was still showing through.
Close, forget about everyone else. Isn't this how it's supposed to be? Making our Christmas memories. Oh, oh, la 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 la, oh, oh, oh.
I am just so pleased how these turn out and would love to know which one you like the best. Today I am going to be creating several dollar store Christmas DIY. These are items that come either from Dollar Tree or Dollarama, the supplies. I will let you know where they're from. So let's get started. The first project that I'm going to be working on, you're going to need some sort of a trimmer or scissors. I have cut out a Merry Christmas to all and to all good night. My A got a little messed up, so I'm going to need to use a permanent marker just to fix it up. I'm still learning how to use this Cricut machine and what's the best things to do. I have a piece of wood. You could use Jingle blocks if you have any. I do not, so I'm just using this piece of wood that I'm going to cut the size, as well as this paper. And then I have also cut out a Christmas tree using my Cricut machine out of a reusable bag that came from Dollar Tree. Some rope that I had on hand, and I am going to use one of my favorite stains, which is the Very Thin Ultimate Wood Stain in Dark Walnut. And then you'll need a rag. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to figure out the size of my paper and where I would like to cut it. So you want to leave enough room for your wood to go down, and then My letters are gonna come down here. I think I'm going to go this way just to make sure. And then my letters I'm gonna leave about, so I think I'm gonna cut it around here and then around here. If you do not have a cutter, you can always use scissors. And I'm just using cardstock for this. It's actually poster board that I had left over from another project. There we go. Now I'm going to cut my wood. Just gonna mark it off where I want to cut. I'm just going to use my garden shears. You could use a little saw. And I'm going to measure another piece, approximately the same size. Just smooth the ends a little bit. Now I'm going to stain my wood. So if this is your first time stopping by my channel, welcome. My name is Sonja and this is my DIY channel where I create lots of different types of DIYs, mostly dollar store, but occasionally I do like to do furniture flip as well as trash to treasure. So if this is something that interests you, I would love it if you considered subscribing, pressing the notification bell so you don't miss out any of my future uploads. I also have two other channels, a cooking channel and a home channel. On my home channel you will find a lot of my DIYs and how I use them and display them around my home, as well as some cleaning motivation. There we go. That won't take long to dry because I didn't put a heavy coat on. So while it is drying a little bit, I'm just going to clean my hands because I don't want to stain my paper. I'm going to tape this on and I'll get glue this on, and again remember your wood pieces where they have to go so you leave yourself plenty of room. So about here I'm just going to put a little line just so I know where to put it. And for that I'm going to use some of my school glue. I found when I used the Mod Podge it was curling up a little bit too much, so I decided to give this a try, and I think it worked really well. I will go with Mod Podge over it, and now I'm going to transfer my letters. Go. Now I'm going to use Mod Podge and just go over it. I'm going to water the Mod Podge a little bit. And now the last step, I'm going to hot glue these to the ends and then add the rope.
Here goes, barreling through the snow. Who makes every Christmas gift? It's Santa. Who comes down the chimney late at night? Who gives every heart a lift? It's Santa.
I have used a triangle ruler to just mark off all of my pieces that I'm cutting, and I went with 3 with the just a pointy top, and then I needed 3 with 1 inch, and then I needed 3 with 2 inch, and then I needed 2 with 4 inch, and then 1 with 5 inch. So I hope this makes sense. It will probably make all sense once I cut them all out and assemble them. Then you'll see what I meant by the top. So some meet right at the top, and then some are an inch apart, 2 inches apart, 3 inches apart, and 4 inches apart. So now that I had them cut, I used a table saw to cut them, and I'm going on. No, it's not a table saw; it's a miter saw. And then I'm using just my sanding block just to smooth out the edges, so they don't cause any splinters, and they're just nice and smooth. This was fairly simple to do. There wasn't a lot of loose wood to sand off. If you're stopping by my channel for the very first time, welcome. My name is Sonja, and I hope that you enjoy this video, and if you do, please give it a thumbs up. And if you're stopping by for the first time, I hope you consider subscribing and pressing that notification bell so you don't miss out any of my future uploads. Make sure you check out my DIY playlist. There are tons of inspirations in there, from Dollar Tree to Trash to Treasure to lots of scrap wood projects. Now, once that was all sanded out, I am going to stain them, but I'm not going to use just a normal stain. I'm going to take some of the chalk paint that I have, and I'm going to water it down and use it as stain. So the very first one that I'm going to be using is Cocoa by Rust-Oleum chalk paint. I got this at Home Depot. I painted a coffee table with it, used it as a stain for the top, so I wanted to use it now because I have tons of it for this project. So the way I create the stain is I am adding some paint. You don't need a lot at all, and then I'm going to be watering it down. So the next one is my Chateau Gray by Annie Sloan. I've had this paint for very long. As you can see, it's quite thick, but again, I'm going to be using water to water it down, so it's not a problem at all. And the last paint, my tin broke that the paint was in, but I am using Paris Gray by Annie Sloan as well, and I've had this one for quite a long time as well. So this one actually was a little bit runnier. I have a feeling that I've already added water to it, but I still needed to add water. Now to the Chateau Gray one, I'm going to add more than the other two, obviously, because it's so thick. But my advice is that you start with a little bit of water, and then you can always add more. You don't want to add too much and then having to add more paint. Then it's just wasting the paint. But I'm just adding a little by little, and you just wanted it to be fairly runny. That's pretty much the consistency that I was going for. That when you dip the paintbrush in it, it's running, it's dripping completely down. This Chateau Gray took a little bit more time to mix it up because it was so thick, but you definitely want to mix it up enough so it doesn't have any of the chunks in it.
It's like they spell your name. It's insane. Now we're back here once again. Holidays and cheer. But now I got my
Now that everything was mixed up, the fun part starts, and it's painting these pieces of wood. It doesn't matter the pattern, it doesn't matter how you paint them, and you actually don't even have to stain them. You can completely paint them. This is just what I was doing, but you can paint them with just acrylic paint or stain them with actual wood stain. I just wanted to show you another way that you can do things. So once I had the piece painted, I am taking a rag and just wiping it all off, and this is what's creating that stained look, because you've got the color and you've got the wood grain coming through as well. And if you want it darker, you just keep applying more paint to it until you reach the darkness that you want. I didn't want too much darkness, so I was okay with just one coat. I did add a little bit more to with the green one, especially in a couple pieces, because I did find that it was a little too light. But when you are using a rag to wipe it off, you want to make sure that you're using a separate rag for each color, because you don't want to have mixing the colors unless that's what you're going for. But sometimes the stains are left over on one and you don't want to transfer that to a different color. So I suggest using the different rags for each color. For this first, so I will be making 3 Christmas trees, and the first one I just need 3 pieces, so each color for each triangle. And then for the next one, I'm going to double up some just to have more color. You can do a pattern that looks the same, or you can mix them up. I mixed them up because I really didn't care if it was patterned or not. I just love using things around the house, and like I said, my mother-in-law was throwing this out, so I took it, and the wood was actually in a really good condition, and I thought it was going to be great for some projects. I have a couple pieces left over still that I can definitely use to make some signs with if I want to. Now, I have seen a dollar store people share that Dollar Tree has these wood planks, and I thought those, if you don't have any scrap wood, those would work as well. You would just have to cut them into the triangles. We don't have any at our store, so this is what I'm using. And now the fun part is starting assembling these trees. This piece of wood, the thinner one, is also from the scrap wood that came from my mother-in-law, and I just cut it into 3 different sizes, lengths, so that way I can assemble the trees on top. I am using wood glue and hot glue. Wood glue for more permanent hold, and hot glue for immediate hold, so that way I can actually keep working and moving them around, and don't have to worry about them falling apart because the wood hasn't set yet. Not sure if you guys are aware, but I also have a home channel where I share how I decorate with a lot of these DIYs that I make. So if you haven't had a chance to check out my home channel, it is full on Christmas decorating happening over there. I am almost done on my main floor, and I will be sharing my home tour this week for the main floor. So I encourage you to see how I use all of my DIY, most of the DIYs that I create in my home decor. It is definitely a budget-friendly way to decorate your house and switch out decor as often as I do. And that's why I like creating a lot of these DIYs, so that way I can switch out my decor without breaking the bank.
I'm not gonna play it safe. I'm not gonna play it safe. It's going down on Christmas Day. 'Cause I've been trying to tell you in every way. Yeah, I've been trying to show you.
I absolutely love the way this turned out, and I can't wait to use it. I'm pretty sure I know exactly where I'm going, which room this is going to go into, and if you want to find out, make sure you are watching my home channel.
I felt I wanna.
For my next DIY, I picked up the 3 of these wooden Christmas trees, and I have cut up just some wood from my yard, from my garden to use. And you will also need hot glue for this. So the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to stain these. I'm not going to use the base. And I'm going to use the same stain as I did for the crate.
I've been busy decking the halls. I've been kind to big and small. And now it's time to have a merry holiday. What a feeling when it's...
These won't take long to dry because I'm not putting a heavy coat on them. I'm going for a very rustic farmhouse theme this year, using a lot of natural elements in my house and some of my rooms, and I think this will be a perfect addition to my decor. They're done. And now for these, I was considering doing a little dent in the wood so these little ends would sit better, but I'm worried about not having it straight enough and then my trees not being straight, so I decided just to go ahead with just hot glue. You could also use wood glue if you want it to be more of a permanent thing, but I'm just gonna go with a hot glue for now.
Are coming true, that's why I cheer. I've been busy decking the halls. I've been kind to big and small.
You're gonna have to hold these in place until the hot glue kind of dries.
When it's time for Christmas, let's sing a carol and we'll bring it here. Let's sing a carol and we'll bring it here.
Okay, one last step that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with a brush and just do a bit of a stain just so it's not so white on here, so light. And I'll go put the stain around the hot glue as well. Just so you know, when you're wiping, you'll wipe off the hot glue, so you might want to go a little bit over it after. Here are the trees. I think they turned out really cute and gonna look great in my decor. Well, I hope you enjoyed this compilation of my favorite Christmas tree DIYs. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button. Let me know which one was your favorite, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye!